Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special episode of the Lunar Temple Podcast. So, this week, instead of Moon Day Musings, I'm giving you an episode dedicated to the next turning of nature's wheel. So, we have arrived on the eve of Imbolc and the first of the three spring festivals. So, I thought that I would do a dedicated episode to this time of year, exploring some of the folklore, some of the rituals and ceremonies that are associated with this special time of year, and how we can embody it in our hearts and in our homes. So, you'll have to forgive me with this episode, those of you who are watching on YouTube, if I'm distracted at all. Not distracted from talking to you, but I've got my door open today because the dogs are being a bit fussy, so they're in and out. And then Orla is she's fast asleep. She's having her afternoon nap. So if there's a little funny blip in the video, it's where she's woken up and I've paused and then badly edited the video back together. So yeah, as always, trying to show up in my realness to speak to you. So yeah, so today, 31st of January, is known as Brigid's Eve, or the eve of Imbolc. So I always really, really love this time of year. It's very, very special for me personally because it is around the time that my daughter was born. And I was actually due on Imbolc, although she was late by quite a few days. And I really drew incredibly close to Brigid when I was going through that little liminal space of being due and the baby not coming and being quite scared, if I'm honest, at that time, and uncertain, and all the complications and emotions and fears that came with birthing in the pandemic. So this time of year is very special to me for that reason. But I've always really loved Imbolc anyway. I've always had a real connection with Goddess Brigid. And I always really love those first signs of spring. I think that it's such a hopeful and positive time of year without it being in your face positive. It's a gentle positiveness. So yeah, do you already celebrate? Do you have a connection with this festival? Is it the first time that you're hearing about it? What does it mean to you? How does it feel to you? In terms of language, in terms of where the word comes from, Imbolc or Imbolc, however you say, it's an old Gaelic word. So coming from Ireland, coming from Scotland, and the word is quite a few different translations, sort of meaning in the belly or in the womb. And it's really associated with this time of year and the onset of lambing season. So there's a lot of imagery at this time of year to do with milk, to do with motherhood, to do with birthing, to do with the kind of nourishment after the winter. So there's a lot of rituals that involve actually the use of milk, and it's all to do with this time of year that would have felt incredibly positive if you think of the long winter months and the lack perhaps of resources and food, and then suddenly there are new animals being born, there is milk available, and it's just that sign that that hardest part of winter now is hopefully behind everybody. And this was a time of two things really: celebration, to have got to this point, celebration that the land appeared to once again be going through its cycle of growth. So if you think of those green shoots that we see appearing now, we think of the snowdrops and the lighter days, the return of the bird song, all of that just showing to people that life is returning, the growing cycle is back. And so there's a sense of gratitude and a sense of celebration, but there was also a lot of ritual to do with blessing the oncoming growing year. So a lot of the rituals to do with fire, to do with milk, as I said, to do with praying to Goddess or Saint Brigid, in whichever aspect people associated with her, but really asking for a bountiful year in terms of crops, in terms of nourishment, in terms of that community and everybody having enough. And that is Imbolc as well. It's two things. So when we get to these cross-quarter festivals, they always hold the energy of two seasons at the same time. When we get to the equinoxes and solstices, they are well and truly in the season that they're celebrated. So winter solstice is mid-winter. Winter is established. We get to that point and we're like, it's definitely winter. The liminal festivals, the cross-quarter festivals, are holding the energy of two at the same time. So when we get to this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere, it is late winter and early spring. And there's a lot of really powerful mythology, folklore imagery around this time of year and the battle between the two seasons. In relation to Celtic mythology, there is, and I think this shows up in a lot of Scottish folklore, this battle between Ancaliac, the hag, the crone of winter, and Brigid or Brede, who is the maiden of spring. Some of the stories perceive her to be the same person, and she just transforms into her maiden self with this arrival of spring. And in other stories, they're different people, and this battle goes on. And it's very interesting to look at the weather at this time of year and to see how those stories would have been inspired by the fact that you can have blue skies and a really sunny day, and this sense of spring is really, really on the way, and then followed by storms and ice and snow. And it almost feels sometimes at this time of year that the winter weather is harsher. And it's all got that imagery of the Cailleach not wanting to go down without a fight. The names for the full moon of February help us to understand that that energy, that power of late winter. So what I'm saying to my students at the moment in the Green Witches year is to just find the middle way between being excited about spring and enjoying this shift, but also being aware and savvy that it's not quite time yet to give up our scarves and do too much in the garden when there's potential for ice, snow, frost, and storms. So February's full moon goes by the names frost moon, snow moon, storm moon, hunger moon, so it gives us this sense of sometimes the bleakness of February, actually. So when people were celebrating this time of year, and in particular that reverence to the goddess Brigid, it's really that sense of being immersed in late winter and just praying to her, make the land green again, make food grow again, make the days warm again, make the days bright and long again, so that we can be together and enjoy and be nourished and be sustained. And so she has that also motherly aspect to her in terms of her devotion. Brigid is many, many things to many, many people. She is very, very beloved. And this year is the first year in Ireland where Brigid is having a public holiday. So I think it's next week, but I might be wrong. So please forgive me if I am wrong. But I know there's lots of celebrations happening this year with it being an official public holiday in Ireland. I know that it's been campaigned for a very, very long time. And it is a massive cause of celebration and healing as well. Lots of the people that I follow online who are from Ireland and have been campaigning for this, it feels they are speaking about how this feels incredibly healing and like a massive step forward and a really positive thing. So please go and have a read about that and connect with those people. It's really inspiring, really magical to see all that is going on over there, and these incredible art projections on buildings and the way that people are celebrating her and this festival. Yeah, really, really inspiring. So in terms of today, the 31st of January, so often the eve of a particular sacred day is the time when the festivities and the rituals actually began. So Imbolc Eve is very, very special and very magical, and many people believed that this was the time that Brigid would walk the land. So there's these beautiful descriptions of her walking, and underneath her feet the land becoming green again, and snowdrops kind of immersing underneath her feet, and how she gives her blessing and her grace to the houses that she visits. So a lot of the traditions are associated with that understanding of it being a blessed evening, a sacred evening, and this connection to Brigid. So people would place fabric outside and believe that it would be blessed by Brigid, and that fabric would be kept and used for things like, if somebody in the house was poorly, that fabric would be used perhaps to wrap them in or cover them in, to give them their blessing, or things would be made out of that fabric. People would make the cross, the Brigid's cross, which you probably see a lot of images of at this time of year. So this four-pointed cross that was woven using like reeds or straw or rushes, and that symbol would be placed above the doorway. Some people would actually put it into their ceiling, and that was an element of protection for this time of year. Lots of stuff to do with fire, because it's a fire festival, and Brigid herself too is associated a lot with the element of fire. So these bonfires that we would have seen at Samhain, that we see in the other cross-quarter festivals as well. So fire. And then what I found really interesting was learning that people would practice divination with the hearth ashes. So I was reading recently that the woman of the house would lie down next to the fire during the night of Imbolc Eve and would smooth all the ashes out, and then in the morning the following day she would look to see any signs, any symbols, anything to suggest that Brigid had been there, but that she'd also left some kind of message. So this is also a really powerful time for divination, for perhaps giving yourself a reading for the next kind of 6 or 7 weeks before we get to the spring equinox. So yeah, divination on the cross-quarter days is really powerful, I think anyway, because of that liminal space and because of the presence of these goddesses and deities that we can draw close to. So imagery, as I've mentioned, for Imbolc, we've talked about milk, we've talked about the kind of return of the growth cycle. Snowdrops have become such a powerful symbol for this time of year, because we see them appearing everywhere, and they really show that first signs of spring. They're incredibly beautiful as well. I think lots of people are quite taken with snowdrops, and you can go for snowdrop walks and kind of immerse yourself in their beauty. Obviously, lots of imagery of Brigid herself in either her goddess aspect or her saint aspect. Lots of imagery to do with planting seeds. So Imbolc is a really nice time to plant seeds from a spiritual point of view, from an intention setting point of view, but also February is the first time really from the last few months where we can actually start planting stuff again. So lots of things can be started in February that can then be planted into the garden. So I really like to set my sweet peas going now. I really like doing those with Imbolc and then just watching them flourish and grow throughout the spring and the summer, and then harvesting their seeds at Lunar just feels really, really special. But lots of flowers that you can start planting indoors. Some summer flowering plants, if you have them in the bulbs, they can actually be planted outside at this time of year as well. So we can sort of start getting excited about gardening and doing things in the garden again. But yeah, seed planting at this time of year is really special. It's a really nice way to think about your intentions and to set your intentions. The other thing that shows up in a lot of folklore around this time of year, whether it's Celtic, pre-Celtic, when we're looking at Roman traditions to do with this first time of spring, is purification and cleansing. So this idea of spring cleaning really comes into play at Imbolc. So there would be a lot of kind of cleaning, sweeping, using sacred smoke, really getting that stale, stagnant winter energy out of the house. And this is something that I love to do at this time of year. I just love to give everything a good clean. I like to, wash my cushion covers and wash the curtains and use lots of smoke and use lots of sweeping and floor washes that I actually spend a lot of time like cooking up on the hob, so with like fresh herbs and essential oils, and really that sense of shift from winter now into the spring. So even though we've got a little bit of winter left, there is a shift, and it's nice to really embody that in your home. So once you've cleansed, once you've cleaned, once you've decluttered, it's a really nice practice to then put some positive energy back into the home. So in the Green Witches year, we are making intentional kind of ritual candles where we're carving symbols into them and we're anointing them with oils. And then we're placing a candle in each room of the house and really working with Brigid to bless the home. You could just use one candle and really associate it and place it with your hearth, the center of your home. So thinking about these things as well. So thinking of, getting rid of any funky energy. We've had a lot of planetary retrogrades that we've just come out of. And I think that all needs to be cleared as well. Any of that funkiness around Mercury retrograde in particular. But lots of planets have just stationed direct. So I would be thinking of that and just getting all of that out. Also letting go of the month of January, particularly if it's not been very happy month, positive month, if it's been a difficult month. I'm also going to be releasing my tax return, which I did last night, always last minute. But anything like that, just really make space for the new, for the spring, for blessing, for grace, for inspiration. The other thing that I really like to do around Imbolc is vision board. So I'm not a big vision board person at New Year because I don't really know where I'm at, and I'm really immersed in the kind of Yuletide rituals and celebrations. But I like Imbolc for vision boarding and journaling and getting a little bit more clear about what I want from the rest of the year. And then I do that again with a little bit more potency at the spring equinox. So I invite you to think about that as well. So I was gifted a brand new Oracle deck on the weekend. So my dear friend Becky, we are on the herbalist training together, and we haven't seen each other to exchange Christmas presents yet. So she hands me this delightful bag of lots of glorious things. And one of the presents was this new deck, which has been on my wish list for quite some time. So I'm very excited to have this. It's called Earth Alchemy Oracle. It was written by Katie Jane Wright and it's illustrated by Nikki Strange. So each card has a crystal and a plant. And I wanted to share with you, I didn't choose this intuitively. I just want to share it with you because it synchronizes with Imbolc. But look at this. So this is the Snowdrop and Herkimer Diamond card. The card says resurrection, commitment, purification, and devotion. But yeah, the artwork on these cards is absolutely divine. And the back of the card is just beautiful elemental painting. If you're listening on the podcast, just Google image at some point, Earth Alchemy Oracle. And you can have a look. So let me see if I can find the description easily. not always great at finding things when I'm recording a video. I get really nervous and then, which is silly, isn't it? But I get really nervous and then miss the page. Okay, so Herkimer Diamond asks for more devotion to your practice. The more you show and surrender to her, the more she deepens her connection. It is a partnership after all. At times we need reminding how bright we are. Situations can wear us down and we can doubt and question ourselves. Herkimer Diamond amplifies your heart's fire and reflects such vast light, making it hard to ignore. This brings harmony to your space and heart. She is a master at this, holding space within and around you for realizations. Meditate and journey with her as she brings this connection to higher consciousness and opens you up in such a way that enhances your clairvoyance and clairaudio. This desire to amplify energy does not end with you. She amplifies the energy of all around her, pairing beautifully with other stones of high vibrations, such as moldavite, venosite, dumortierite, that's not how you say that, tanzanite, and golden Libyan tektite. She wishes to help you realign and restructure pathways of light through your third eye into higher chakras, particularly bringing awareness to your soma chakra, a minor chakra above the third eye that connects you to your pineal gland. It is important to welcome her light streams as they move up through you to your higher chakras as they call to the angelic kingdoms. Snowdrop complements Herkimer's promise to release old patterns by reminding you of your magic and bringing you close to peace and tranquility. Her nature of blooming through the winter months symbolizes the coming of warmer days. Her presence brings hope that you can weather the colder period and bloom. She supports the opening of information and awakening coming in through your soma chakra and third eye. Before we can rebirth ourselves, our ideas and creations, we need to purify aspects of ourselves and bring awareness to the parts of us that we hide. We need to focus on inner work and release by looking inward, being still, and receiving. So personally, there's a lot in there for me that I really resonate with and want to take note of. But yeah, it's a beautiful deck. And Becky, if you're watching or listening, thank you very much again. So finishing off then with the full moon that is coming up this weekend. So we've got a full moon in Leo. And as I mentioned before, this has the name of snow moon, ice moon, storm moon, and hunger moon. I'm probably missing a couple. So even though the names of the moon are really talking about the weather and the harshness of late winter, Leo is an incredibly expansive, joyful, creative, playful sign. And all the work that we've done at the new moon in Aquarius about shining our light, stepping into our truth, owning who we are, feeling confident, feeling radiant, feeling like just showing up and being ourselves has the power to change the world and change the people around us. So Leo is just encouraging that even more. Yeah. And this will often happen. We'll have a sign that the new moon is in. We have these reflections, these ruminations, these things that we are percolating. And then we get to a full moon, and that full moon is like, okay, let's step into this even more. So Leo wants the same things as Aquarius. It wants us to be bold. It wants us to shine. It wants us to take up space. It wants us to share our creativity with the world. And I really like this full moon. I think it just has this like radiating, expansive, inspiring energy. So I really want you to get your hearts behind that this weekend. Lean into that Leo energy. Get your vision board stuff out, get your journals out, and think about what you want to create this year, and think about what is holding you back. Full moons can shine their light on our shadows. they can shine their light on what is keeping us small, keeping us safe, keeping our, throat restricted, not speaking, not sharing, not shining. So thinking about that this weekend in combination with Imbolc, Brigid is a goddess of creativity. She is associated with bards and poets, and she is associated with smithcraft. She is incredibly creative. She forges things in the fire. She is this goddess that can really help us get clear on our vision, on our goals and our wishes. And remember those Aquarian themes that we talked about last week, not holding ourselves back creatively, like allowing creativity to flow through us. Allow it to be a connection to the divine instead of thinking that it's a waste of time or it's something to do on the side or it's something that's a distraction. Actually lean into it as an act of drawing close to divinity, our divinity, and the divinity of those goddesses and gods that we draw close to. Yeah, so this is, really leaning in to those old kind of druidic philosophies, really, that search for hour and that search for inspiration, and how their divination practices, especially when you look at old Irish texts, the way that divination came through was through poetry, through the bards. That's why Brigid in that aspect is so important. But thinking about that, we always think of it as separate to our spiritual practice, something that might be getting in the way of our spiritual practice. What if it is our spiritual practice? What if those creative pursuits are getting us closer to our divine nature, getting us closer to those deities that we love and adore? So I'll leave you to have a little think about that. But I definitely pencil in some time this weekend for creativity, for embodiment, for freedom, for going out and dancing under the moonlight, anything that just makes you feel alive, that makes you feel free, and that makes you feel like you can shine your beautiful, unique light into this world. So I am not going to jinx myself, or not jinx myself, but I'm not going to push it any further than I've been able to sit here and talk to you without all waking up. So I think I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I really hope that you have a special Imbolc. Those of you in the Green Witches course, we've got lots of juicy stuff to look at in February. Lots of folklore, some really interesting things that I've come across in my research that we're going to look at. We're looking at storm magic. We're looking at the sacred days of certain goddesses in February. So yeah, I'm really excited. Today is also the last day, people, to sign up to the Green Witches year. It's a 12-month program, and I want the container to close as we move into February. I want the same people in the course for the whole year. And also, I don't want to have my energy going into marketing and advertising. Now my energy is going into in the group and all our creative projects and insights in that. So if you are last minute feeling the call to join us, as always, I'll put the link in the comments in the notes, the show notes below. And the payment plan is still available as well, making it only $20 a month to join in. So yeah, that is there for you. Nothing else to announce at the moment because everything has kind of started, but there's other things brewing in my cauldron that I'll share with you soon. I'm actually dedicating a lot of time at the moment for my own creative practices, and then I'll have more outward work to share with you when we get to spring, official spring. Okay, everybody, much love to you all. Take care. Blessed Imbolc, blessed full moon, and hopefully I'll be back next Monday with Moon Day musings. If I'm not, this will be to do with my daughter's birthday next week and me not having it all organized. So if I'm not here next week, I'll be with you the following week and I'll let you know how it's all gone. All right, take care and I'll see you soon.